go off, I guess. Hey there, so welcome back to another video. So as you can see from the title of this video, we are doing, well, okay, first of all, it's the beginning of Pride Month. Obviously Pride Month started on Tuesday, but I don't upload on Tuesdays, so happy Pride Month. If you don't already know about Pride Month, I hope that you educate yourself about Pride Month, and if you do know about Pride Month, I hope it's a good one for you this year. Anyways, so as you can see from the title of the video, this is going to be the first video of Pride Month, and we're going to be talking about the gay pride flag. Well, we're not going to be talking about the flag, but that's the look we're doing today. And also, as you can see from the title of the video and the thumbnail, this is going to be my coming out story, which, looking back, is, I don't know, I'm very nervous about filming this video just because it is such a touchy subject. I think a lot of queer people will agree with me. So today I'm going to be talking about how I came out twice. Yeah, I hope you guys are ready. With that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, so just to clarify, this is not a tutorial. So I'm going to just be doing the makeup and talking. Instead of going through what I'm doing, I'm just going to do it. If you want a tutorial on this look, let me know and then I'll maybe do an Instagram video on it. I don't know. This is not a tutorial. This is like a story time. Oh yeah, story time. That's what the YouTubers call it. So let's start from the beginning. Like all great stories do. When I was smaller than I am now. I'm not that tall. Also, just like you'll probably see, but I love making jokes when I feel uncomfortable. So if I make lots of jokes and it's a little bit awkward, please don't mind me. So if I end up making like uncomfortable jokes where it's not funny but I laugh, please don't judge me too harshly. I'd also just like to say that my coming out story is not as bad, like as hectic as other people's stories are. It was not pleasant, but it wasn't as bad as what some people have experienced. So no warnings about like graphic talk or anything like that. From a very young age, everyone says that I knew I was different from a young age. I didn't know I was different. I believed and thought that how I was normal. So from a very young age, I just was myself, and I was very young when I realized it. I want to say when I was about 6 or 7-ish, I realized I was not like the other boys at the nursery school. You know what I mean? And at that point anyways, it started to become clear to me that I was different. But like the beginning stages of nursery school, the part that you can remember, like 4, 5, 6, I just thought I was normal, and you know, I was just being my little old self. And then, like I said, I realized that I was not like all the other boys at the nursery school. I liked Barbies. Most of my friends were girls. Then I went to primary school. Grade 1 was fine. There was nothing really that happened there. But we moved to India, and I'll talk about that in a different video. But we moved to India, and in India I picked up a lot of weight. And when we moved back, I started in a new school, and in grade 3. So I was in grade 3. The thing is, like, before, this is a mess already, hold on. So before we moved to India, I'd heard the word gay before, and I knew that it meant, well, not really, I didn't really know what it meant. I just knew that it wasn't normal. And so when we came back from India and I started at the new school, I'm pretty sure it would have happened at my old school, but when we started at the new school, I was not only bullied for being fat, but I was bullied for being super feminine as well. That's the thing about these videos, is I can't talk and do. Because I started in grade 3 there, and that's when it really started to hit me that, you know, I was a bit more feminine. You know, I always knew I was different from like a certain point, but it was in grade 3 that I knew the reason I was different. I knew that I was more feminine than the other boys. And like, I'm not going to talk too much about bullying, but I mean, lots of queer people know the struggle of being bullied. If there's a reason, I'll maybe talk about it in a different video. And yeah, I was in grade 3, which is 9 years old for those of you who don't know. That's when I heard, in grade 3 is when it was brought to my attention, the gay thing. Before that, it was always like, Kenan's a little different. But in grade 3, I think it was like a grade 6 that came up to me and was like, "Are you gay?" And all his friends were like, "Hee hee hee." Girl, what a question to ask a grade 3. And I was like, "No, I'm not." From that point on, it sort of was a thing. Like, because I'll talk about this in my genderqueer video a little bit, but back then I thought that being gay didn't mean just liking boys. I thought it meant that you were meant to be a girl. And then I was just, it bothered me, but it was never like life-threatening. You know, when people would say slurs to me and things like that, it would really upset me, as it does, I mean, duh. But like, it wasn't enough to break my spirit, if that makes sense. I know that's a really cute thing to say, but like, it's true. It bothered me, but I never let it like completely destroy me. You know, it hurt, and there were some bad days and some good days, as with anything in life. Anyways, so we get to grade 8. I was very much at church every day, and in grade 8, me and a good friend of mine from back then, we aren't friends anymore, but we went to church all the time. Like, we were in worship band together, and you know, we went to youth together, we did confirmation and things like that. So we started going to church together, and one night at the church they had like a movie night, and the movie they were watching was this movie called Prayers for Bobby. And now just keep in mind, up until this point I had this idea of what gay meant. It never left my mind that it was a bad thing. Like, all throughout my life until grade 8, when I watched that movie, I thought that being gay was a very bad sin and you are gonna go to hell and things like that. You know, the things that people force into your mind. It wasn't until I watched this movie that I realized that it's okay. So from that point on, this friend of mine, she says that she was lesbian. We connected on this level where we were both queer and we were going through the same sort of struggles. We understood each other on a much deeper level. Like, we were close before, and then when I told her that I might be gay, we just connected on a much deeper level. And basically, I didn't tell anyone except for her. Like, it was just between us two. Like, I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell the other people at church. Well, I told a few people at church, but anyways. So things escalated between me and my friend, and we were like very much into the whole queer thing, and you know, as you should be. I don't know if you aren't, get with the program. This is 21st century, and it was basically all we spoke about was how cool it was to be different from everyone else. As a 14-year-old, to have a friend like that who's going through the exact same struggles that you are, it's pretty cool. So we definitely connected then. So I was still going to church a lot, and the church I was in was very much accepting. They were like, "Work, we love everyone." And they still are like that today. So it was like the middle-ish of the year. I'd say like June, and a new guy joined. Well, he wasn't new, he returned from after traveling, or I don't know what the story was. And he joined the band as well. Obviously, I'm not gonna name any names. Even with this friend of mine, it's none, like, they're not part of this. They did not give me permission to say their names, so I'm not gonna say their names. I don't wanna violate anyone's privacy, but this is my story, so that's why I'm telling it. I'm not gonna say any names though, so period. He was very open about his sexuality. Like, everyone knew, and it was just like common knowledge kind of thing. Everyone who I was close with at church knew about me, but like not the whole congregation knew, you know what I mean? And this guy kind of made it known to the whole congregation that he was, you know. We started messaging each other. I messaged him first because for some reason I was a lot bolder back then than I am right now. I would never do that today. But anyways, back then apparently I was Miss Goldilocks. We hit it off right off the bat. And keep in mind, I was 14 at the time. So, I don't know, it wasn't ideal, especially because he was out of school for a year already. So he was 19, I was 14. That's like me last year dating a grade 8. I don't know why he did it, because I can't stand people younger than me. But anyways, we were talking and it became flirty quite quickly. Not just because of him, like, I'm not gonna put all the blame on him. It came from our side 100% as well. So it was very much reciprocated that we were both into each other. And yeah, it sort of just like escalated, and we were talking like on a daily basis. And you know, me in grade 8, I had a curfew. I had to be asleep by a certain time. My parents are very strict. were very strict, not anymore. So yeah, it became serious very quickly, and we were like chatting and talking every night, late into the night, especially for someone who had a curfew. Oh no, I messed it up. Oh no, wait, yeah, that makes sense. Because around the time that he came was around the time, okay, so let's just backtrack a little bit. Sorry, I apologize. But basically, what happened was I was doing this thing at the church where people bring their kids to be looked after by some of the younger leaders at the church for like the June, July holidays. Yeah, so it was a little bit before he came into the picture, but anyways. Yeah, I was doing that, and it was there that I came out to one of our leaders. Well, one of my bigger leaders at the church. Not like a huge leader, but she was like one of the head young leaders at the church, basically. So I came out to her and we spoke about it on the phone. And what had happened was I fell asleep because I don't know if you know, but it's very much hard work to be looking after little kids until like from like 7 o'clock in the morning till like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a lot of hard work. I take my hat off to anybody who does it on a regular basis. But anyways, I was very much tired and I fell asleep while I was talking to this leader. And the next day I went to, it was the last day of the looking after children thing. And the main leader of the looking after children thing called me to the side and she was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know your dad called earlier and he is gonna come pick you up. He said that he wants to take you for lunch. And I was like, okay, did he say why? And she was like, no, he just said that, you know, he's gonna come pick you up. And I was like, okay. So it's like when someone messages you and they're like, we need to talk. Like that feeling of like dread. So long story short, he took me to McDonald's, my dad, and he was like, hey, just wanted to let you know, your phone was unlocked last night, you fell asleep, and I did go through it, and I saw the messages between you and this leader. And I was like, ooh, shit. And my dad was like, it's okay though, I accept you and I love you still. Just from this point, keep me up to date. You know, I want to know what's happening in your life. Especially because I was young. Looking back, I didn't realize how young I was. Now looking back at grade 8s now, they are like toddlers to me. I was like, okay, yes dad, of course I'll keep you up to date. I am very much a people pleaser. I hate to admit it. I do, because I feel like people pleasing has such a negative, I don't want to say stigma, but people pleasing is not very much seen as like a good thing. So I hate to admit it, but I'm very much a people pleaser. And I want everyone to be happy with me and everyone to be happy around me. So I was like, yes, of course, dad, I'll tell you everything that's going on. And then literally a few weeks later is when the new guy for the band came in and we started our little thing. So long story short, I did not tell my dad, which was mistake number 1. I should just have told my dad. But at the same time, I was a little scared, especially because he was, how many years older than me? 5. It was my first potential boyfriend because at that point we hadn't made it official yet. I didn't want to have anybody spoil that for me. And the last thing I wanted was to tell my dad and my dad to be like, you can't date him. He's 5 years older than you, so no. Which he was gonna do anyways. So, okay, so we were speaking like from about, I want to say the middle of June to like in about August-ish. After speaking for a while, we were at worship practice and I remember him being like, do you want to go talk outside? And I was like, oh, work, sure. You know, we went to go talk outside and he asked me to be his boyfriend, which it was very sweet. I was like, yes, obviously. He was gonna kiss me. He was gonna give me my first kiss, but someone rode in to the church grounds and then he got shot, so he didn't kiss me, but anyways. And to this day, I still have not had my first kiss, but I mean, we're not gonna blame anyone. We're not gonna be bitter or salty. Then, literally 2 nights later, keep in mind, I still have a curfew and my parents are still really strict when it comes to my phone especially. So my parents are very adamant that I do not use my phone like when I'm supposed to be sleeping, especially because I had a curfew, but I never listened. Yeah, literally 2 nights after he asked me to be his boyfriend, I just remember my dad, I was asleep again, like I fell asleep with my phone in my hand. And I remember waking up to my dad being like, unlock your phone. And I was like, oh, I was just gonna put it down, like half asleep. And he was like, unlock it. And I was like, oh my gosh. I unlocked it. I remember still like unlocking it and I closed all my apps like an idiot. And the next morning I woke up and my phone was like on the little breakfast table. So anyways, I just remember the extreme guilt that I felt. Just the feeling of disappointing my dad was very much I felt disappointed in myself, if that makes sense. Especially because my dad had given me the oh, that's something I forgot to say. But when my dad found out about me talking to the leader, he told me let's not tell mom. She won't react really well to this, and until you sort of figure out what's going on with you, then we'll tell mom. So it was a secret between me and my dad, and I'm actually super blessed to have the dad that I do have, and I don't think I realize it enough. I mean, you hear so many stories about queer people and their broken relationships with their fathers, and I'm just blessed to not have that. I love my dad very much. But anyways, I have to concentrate really hard. After that, after I find my phone in the morning on the breakfast table, I went to school like normal. And when I got to school, me and my friend were chilling and chatting and whatever. And I was like, can you excuse me for a second? I just need to phone my dad. So I phoned him and I was like, hey dad, so did you go through my phone? And he was like, I did. And I was like, did you see everything? And he was like, I saw everything. And I was like, he was like, I did, I saw everything, and I'm picking you up after school today. Because at that point, I was going to a friend's house after school every afternoon, just because he lived down the road from the school. So, and I was like, very much that same energy of we need to talk. Very that. I already started shitting bricks, and the whole day at school, I couldn't think of anything else. I was like, this chat is gonna end my life. So the plan was that I was gonna walk to my friend's house, and then have my dad pick me up there. I started walking to my friend's house, and my dad sort of caught me on the way there, and I got in the car, and I remember still trying to make small talk. I was like, oh my gosh, whose dog is that? Because there was a dog in the road. I remember that very well. And I remember he had a dentist appointment, so we drove to the dentist together, and it was the most uncomfortable. This day is very uncomfortable for me. I just remember being very much uncomfortable throughout the whole day. Again, the first time, he was very much accepting and loving and just supportive of me. I think the only thing that changed this time is my dad was disappointed in me. So yeah, I spilled all the beans to my dad in that car, and I told him everything about what happened. And I just remember my dad saying, we have to tell your mom. And just a disclaimer, my mom has come very far from what I'm about to tell you. Even though it is disheartening to hear these things, she's not like that anymore. And she's changed a lot and grown a lot and learned a lot. I remember wanting to argue with him and being like, no, we shouldn't. But I don't think I did. So we got home and my mom was already home. Oh, that's another thing. It happened on a Friday. And that Thursday is when he found out. And that Tuesday is when the church boy asked me to be his boyfriend. My mom was already home when we got home. She was like, oh, how's your day been? The normal things. I just remember my dad being like, Kenan wants to tell you something. I remember saying, I think I'm gay. And my dad looked at me and he's like, that's not what you said in the car. And I was like, you're right. But yeah, I'm trying to soften the blow here. And my dad's like, that's not what you said. But anyways, this is the part where I get uncomfortable. So the jokes will be quite cringy. But anyways, my dad, he called me out girl. So I looked at my mom and I was like, I am gay. And I just remember the way her face dropped. And the way she started, when someone's on the brink of tears, when the tears are bordering here, that happened. And I just remember feeling the most guilt ever. That's the worst part of the story, I think, for me, is that I felt bad for being who I was. That's, I think, what a lot of queer people experience when they come out. I mean, I don't know about everyone, but for me, that night, that weekend was probably the most uncomfortable thing I've ever endured in my life. To this day, anyways. Obviously, I'm pretty young still, so worse things can happen. I remember my dad was completely 100% supportive of me through the whole thing, since he found out till today, period. I just remember him crying. He was sitting on the couch, and he was crying into his hands. And my mom turned to me and she said, look at what you've done. You've made him cry. It was very difficult for me because, as I've said, and I'll say it again, I am a people pleaser. I want people to be happy with me and, be proud of me and things like that, especially my parents. So yeah, I cried as well. We were all crying, girl. It was a big crying game. It was a weekend long thing. So from Friday to Sunday, we spoke about it. The mornings were awkward because you wake up and you expect to go to normal, You wake up thinking, oh, it was just a bad dream, you know? And then you walk to the front and both your parents are like still as depressed as they were the night before. At the end of that weekend, I don't want to say gaslight, but my parents gaslit me into believing I was straight. At the end of the weekend, I remember thinking, I'm straight now and I'm gonna make my parents proud. Very religious back then. So I would pray and I'd be like, Jesus, make me straight for my parents. Not for me, because if it was up to me, I would have just carried on living my life the way it was. You know, to me anyways, a perfect future to me is where the pressure and anxiety of coming out is no longer there. People just love who they love and no one bats an eyelid. You know, that's a perfect future to me. At least for a few months, I forced myself, sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. But I forced myself into believing that I was straight. And we went to the church that I was in and we asked them for like, not counseling and not conversion therapy either, but very much like, how do we fix this problem? And the people there were like, listen, we accept everyone, no matter what walk of life they come from. So to us, there is nothing wrong with Kenan. Very much that narrative. Oh my gosh, the backdrop is fixed. Thank goodness. And that wasn't good enough for mainly my mom. I think throughout this whole process, I mean, I'm not 100% sure what my dad thought, but he wasn't very much involved. It's almost like he knew that I was speaking bullshit when I was like, I am straight. So because our church didn't give us what we wanted, my mom then took me to a different church, an Afrikaans church, surprise. And this guy that I spoke to was trying so hard, sort of tell me why it's wrong. He really went out of his way and obviously it did not work. In that moment, I remember being like, I'm going to be the perfect husband for a wife one day. And then basically from that point on, so all of that happened in grade 8. I would say from the time I left this man's office saying that I was straight to about the middle of grade 9ish, I believe that I was straight. I was like, what's it? What's vote? Phoebe? Anyways, I tried my hardest to make my parents happy with how I presented myself. You know, I would try my best to not act femininely when I was around our friends, like our family friends, and when we were around family, I would try to butch myself up. And then at about the middle of grade 9, I sort of stopped doing all that. I was like, listen, it's my life and I need to be happy with myself. And from that point on, I stopped trying to butch myself up as much as I did. Then in grade 11, at that point, my best friend, look girl, I'm gonna be honest, me and my best friend, we were watching Drag Race on the weekends. Like we would watch Drag Race and I was trying to be like, I'm not gay. I remember telling Hannah, who's my best friend, I remember telling her and I was like, my love, I'm gay. And I just remember the absolute amount of acceptance that I felt from her. I don't know if she did it on purpose to try and make me feel good, but she was just like, I'm so happy right now. I love you lots. This doesn't change anything. You're still my best friend. All these things. And it made me feel really good. So I'll forever be grateful for that bitch, Miss Hannah, for doing what she did for me on that night. I think it was like 2 days later after I told Hannah, I remember messaging her and I was like, I'm gonna tell them tonight. And she was like, I'm here for you. I hope it goes well, things like that. So I remember being like, Mom, Dad, can we talk? And my dad said, he was like, I knew it was gonna be about this. And my mom, again, she did not take it very well. So she cried again and she was like, I love you and nothing ever will change that. This is not the way I want your life to go, but it's your life, but just please give me time. So yeah, after that night, I came out to my parents again, part 2. I just remember being happy after that. I don't think anybody knows the feeling, except for queer people, that feeling of like relief, that like weight being lifted off your shoulders of finally telling the people you love the most about yourself and them being happy about it, obviously, because I don't think it's the same feeling when they aren't happy about it and things like that. But it's just such a great feeling. So when have you ever heard a story about someone who's coming out took 4 wait, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 years about. Let's say 3 years. The thing is though, I feel disappointed in myself as well, because if I had just stood my ground in grade 8, like when that whole thing happened, if I just stood my ground and said, you know what, I am gay and nothing is really going to change that, you know, I'm who I am and I love you guys very much, but you can't change who I am. As Nicki Minaj said, the great generous queen said, I am who I am because I am who I am. And I wish I just stood up for myself a bit more. What is that? What? What is that? So let me just quickly try and fix this dog. This left eye is looking crusty, but that is okay. I'll just post photos, like in the photos I'll look like this, okay? What is that, baby? Go. Oh my gosh. So my makeup is finally done. I will say that coming out is extremely difficult. So if someone that is close to you has come out or is coming out or whatever the deal is, take it easy on them. Whether they're your child, whether they're your grandchild, whether they are your sister or your brother, whether they are your cousins, where even if it's just a best friend, even if it's just a best friend or whatever the dynamic is in your relationship with this person, be gentle with them. I don't think straight cisgender people understand the immense pressure and confidence it takes to come out. And people often, I know we'll talk about more misconceptions in the rest of Pride Month, but a misconception about being gay is that you want to be a girl or you want to be the opposite gender. And that has to do with gender norms and society, but we'll talk about that in a different video. Also, people think that when you're gay, when you're bi, when you're transgender, it means that you're a different person. That's not the case. The same kid who you knew from whenever ago is the same person you're talking to who's coming out. Same thing, same person. They're just being honest with you. They're telling you their truth. And people think that you change after you tell them your true tea. That's not the case either. I was being myself the whole time, but now I've just told you who I am fully. So people need to remember that. Just because now I'm telling you that I'm gay doesn't mean that from this point on I'm a different person. No, Mary. I've always been gay. I'm just telling you now. You know what I mean? And if you are thinking about coming out to somebody, think about whether or not, especially if you're younger, anybody who's young and still living with their parents or whoever they're living with, think about if telling them who you are and coming out to them will benefit you. I mean, you know these people. You've lived with them for your whole life, in most cases anyways. So if coming out will not improve your home environment, if you know that telling these people will not end well, don't do it. That's the best advice I could give. Don't do it if you know that telling them is going to result in you being more uncomfortable in the home that you're living in. I know it's difficult and I know you probably don't want to hear it, but it's the best advice I can give. However, if you know that, if you're unsure, fool them into giving you their opinion about whoever and whatever. So like be like, oh, you know, the other day my friend, her sister came out as transgender. Hear what they have to say. And if their response is completely negative, then maybe don't tell them. But if their response is positive, then by all means, you know what I mean? So just test the waters first before you go head first into a situation. So I hope that advice was helpful. And I hope this video helped you to get to know me a little better. Happy Pride Month, everyone. Happy Pride Month, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have not, please go like this video. Please go subscribe to my channel if you have not already. And if you want to, leave a little comment down below. I hope you guys have a great morning or evening or not. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye!